All right, as you can see, we are at the Hannity Big Board tonight for a very special reason. Tonight, you see all this? All this here? We're going to untangle the giant web of Clinton scandals and corruption. It's unlike anything we have ever done on the show before. It's coming up in just a few minutes. But first, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, he appeared to downplay the idea of appointing a special counsel to investigate the corrupt Uranium One deal and the pay-to-play Clinton Foundation issue. However, sources are telling me tonight Sessions may in fact not be revealing all of his cards. Now, I can tell you this tonight from what I am hearing. Investigations may already be underway, and things apparently are moving very quickly. Now, keep that in mind while you listen to this exchange between Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and the Attorney General Jeff Sessions about appointing a special counsel. Watch this.
What's it going to take, if all that, not to mention the dossier information, what's it going to take to actually get a special counsel?
It will take a factual basis that meets the standards of the appointment of a special counsel.
Is that analysis going on right now?
Well, it's in the manual of the Department of Justice about what's required. We've only had two. The first one was the Waco, Janet Reno, Senator Danforth, who took over that investigation as special counsel, and Mr. Mueller. Each of those are pretty special factual situations.
Let me ask it this way.
And we will use the proper standards, and that's what only thing I can tell you, Mr. Jordan.
Well, I appreciate that.
You can have your idea, but sometime we have to study what the facts are and to evaluate whether it meets the standard.
Well said. So let me ask you this. If in fact,
a special counsel.
All right, now the Department of Justice has since put out a statement tonight to further explain Attorney General Jeff Sessions' comments. It says, quote, the Attorney General was clarifying the legal basis for appointing a special counsel, not passing judgment on whether it applied in any specific investigation. Now, that statement and Sessions' testimony today is crucial in all of this. Now, Sessions is explaining that just because a special counsel has not been appointed, that does not mean that it won't happen and that the threshold for one won't eventually be met. Now, look, we've been exposing these massive Clinton scandals and, frankly, I believe crimes on this show for over a year. Yes, it's frustrating. People are getting impatient. I totally understand why Congressman Jim Jordan was pressing and demanding answers to important questions. We all want the truth. There needs to be an investigation because we know laws were broken. We know crimes were committed. The evidence is overwhelming. It's incontrovertible. Now, with all that said, things are happening that we can't reveal all the information tonight, but here's what I can tell you. If you listen very closely to Sessions today, he is suggesting that it would take, quote, a factual basis that meets the standards of a special counsel in order for the DOJ to make that type of appointment. Those words, I can assure you, were carefully crafted. Now, sources told me earlier this month, and we reported it right here on this show, that Sessions has not, hear me, has not recused himself in the Uranium One scandal. And if there's an ongoing investigation, Sessions can't reveal all that in an open setting in front of Congress. Now, we're going to have a lot more to say about these things in coming days. Now, Congressman Ron DeSantis, he also had a very interesting exchange with the Attorney General today. Watch this.
In the past, did the FBI or DOJ inform either President Obama, Secretary Clinton, or any cabinet secretary that it had uncovered evidence that Rosatom's main U.S. executive, Vadim Mikirin, was engaged in bribery, kickbacks, and money laundering before the Obama administration approved the Uranium One sale in 2010?
Is that the Mikirin matter, the matter that was prosecuted in Maryland?
2014, but there was an informant in 2009, 2010. The FBI had evidence of bribery, kickbacks, and money laundering. Was that information conveyed to any of the relative people on the CFIUS board? Clinton, other cabinet secretaries, or was it given to the president?
The way I understand that matter is that the case in which Mr. Mikirin was convicted was not connected to the CFIUS problem that occurred 2 to 3 years before.
All of that should sound very familiar because it is exactly what the facts are. What we've been telling you on the show for months, that Vladimir Putin and his agents, they orchestrated a bribery, kickback, money laundering, racketeering scheme, all in an attempt to get a foothold in America's uranium market. Now, this, of course, was all going on while Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration were signing off on that corrupt Uranium One deal. Yet nobody did anything to stop Putin and his plan. Now, there's so much important information that we need to explain tonight, and we're going to untangle this web of Clinton corruption and show you how all of it is connected. All right, let's start right up here with the Uranium One scandal. At the very center of this, we have, of course, Hillary Clinton. Now, in 2010, Clinton was serving as the Secretary of State. One of her responsibilities was, as the head of the Department of State, to serve on a committee of foreign investment in the United States. It's known as CFIUS. Now, it was made up of 9 officials from different departments in the federal government. They were tasked with reviewing foreign investments in U.S. companies and resources. One last point here. You see all of this. Now, remember, we don't have enough uranium in this country. We have to import uranium. Now, another notable Obama official that was serving on that board was the Attorney General. That's Eric Holder. And together, along with 7 other Obama officials, well, on this government board, they approved the sale of a company called Uranium One to a foreign nuclear energy company. Pay close attention here. Watch all of this begin to unfold. Now, Uranium One was a Canadian-based uranium mining company, and it controlled an estimated 20% of raw uranium in the United States. By the way, we don't have enough. We import it. In other words, 1/5 of America's supply of the foundational material used to make nuclear weapons, and we import it because we need it. And the company that Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, and other Obama officials allowed to buy Uranium One. It's called Rosatom. That's a Russian state-run atomic energy conglomerate that's controlled by Vladimir Putin and the Russians. You know, the bad actors, the hostile regime. Now, to put this simply, then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and others, 9 total, approved a Russian takeover of 20% of America's uranium supply in 2010. Now, that's all while Vladimir Putin was becoming more and more hostile on the world stage. Why would anyone, let alone members of our government, think it's a good idea to let Putin control 20% of our uranium supplies when we don't have enough? It never made sense. It still doesn't make sense. It's not like America has a lot of uranium to begin with. Guess what? Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, if you look at all of this up here, and the rest of the Obama administration, I argue, created a national security crisis. This is insanity. And then in 2010, during the very same time that the Uranium One deal was being reviewed by the government board, former President Bill Clinton, he sought approval from his own wife's State Department to meet in Moscow with high-ranking board members of this group, Rosatom, that controls all their energy there. The request was made while Bill Clinton prepared to give a $500,000 paid speech in Moscow, twice his usual speaking fee. The bank involved, by the way, had a financial interest in all of this, Uranium One, and it was called Renaissance Capital. And they have links to the Kremlin. And it was actively lobbying for the Russians to take over Uranium One. Now, ultimately, the speech took place, but meeting with Rosatom never happened. Instead, Bill Clinton just sat down with Vladimir Putin himself. Now, the last piece of this web of corruption is the Clinton Foundation. Now, between 2009 and 2013, the chairman of Uranium One used his family foundation to make millions of dollars in donations to the Clinton Foundation before and after Hillary approved the sale of the company to Putin and Russia. And that's not all. Other Uranium One investors, guess what? They also donated millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Now, where I come from, that sounds like a quid pro quo. That's what we call pay to play. Now, look at all of that. You see that? Okay, that's only part of it. Now let's turn to the second ongoing Clinton scandal. Now, no matter how much Hillary Clinton deflects and ignores this issue, the scandal surrounding a private server will not go away because she broke the law and she got away with it. This all started in 2008. Private server, email account, set up under the name of a former Clinton aide. In 2009, Hillary Clinton becomes Secretary of State. She uses that personal email account to conduct official State Department business where she sent and received top secret, special access program, classified information. You're not allowed to do that. This came to light in 2015 after the House Select Committee on Benghazi subpoenaed Hillary Clinton's emails related to the Benghazi terror attack. Following the subpoena, an employee of Platte River Networks, that's that small mom-and-pop shop in a bathroom tech company, well, they were responsible for servicing Hillary Clinton's private server. And let's see, they deleted, what, over 30,000 emails using something that's called bleach bit. It's like acid washing your hard drive. Then, once all of this was revealed, and because of concerns that Hillary may have mishandled top secret government information, the FBI actually opened a criminal investigation to find out what's going on here. You're not allowed to do this. The person in charge of the investigation was then FBI Director James Comey. See how this is all beginning to come together here? Oh, pretty interesting. Now, during the course of the investigation, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, asked James Comey, hey, don't call this an investigation. Call it a matter. Oh, take the Clinton talking points, and Comey willfully complied. Then 1 week before James Comey announced the FBI's decision on whether or not to pursue charges against Hillary Clinton, then the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, who you can see right here, and former President Bill Clinton, you can see right there. They had that meeting on the tarmac for a private meeting lasting 40 minutes. When pressed about it, Lynch said, oh, we were only talking innocent small talk about golf and our grandchildren. And then after a week of this meeting, a week after, Comey announced the FBI would not recommend charges for Hillary Clinton, even though he spent a good 13 and a half minutes explaining how Clinton had top secret, a special access program, classified information stored on that unsecured server that anyone could have hacked. And by the way, we believe 5 foreign intelligence agencies did. And we also since found out that the original draft of Comey's announcement, well, it described Clinton's actions as grossly negligent. Okay, that is the legal standard. But then after 3 drafts, it was changed to extremely careless. They didn't want to cite what the actual law said. And we also know that Comey made his decision not to recommend charges against Clinton before he ever interviewed the key witnesses in the case, including Clinton herself. The fix was clearly in. And that's why all of this here needs to be investigated. Look how important. Look how this all begins to tie together. One common thread? Hillary Clinton. Now, our third scandal involves Fusion GPS and the fake news Russian propaganda anti-Trump dossier. Now, of course, at the very center of this scandal, there you go, it's Hillary Clinton again. And during her failed run for the White House, the Clinton campaign paid millions and millions of dollars to a law firm. It was named Perkins Coie for legal fees. Now, the Clinton-controlled DNC also paid millions of dollars to this same very law firm during that same period. A lawyer within the firm then employed a consulting company, you've heard about it, Fusion GPS, which in turn utilized the services of a former foreign spy. There's Christopher Steele. Steele used the current and former Russian government sources to create the now infamous, totally discredited, fake news, Russian lies, propaganda, misinformation dossier. That was all in an attempt. They paid for it. She paid for it to influence you, the American people, and the election, and lie to you and propagandize to you. Now, prior to the election, this dossier was secretly shopped around, eventually ended up in the hands of Senator John McCain. McCain passes the document to the FBI Director, James Comey, and now there are concerns that this fake dossier was used as evidence in order to justify a Russia collusion investigation into the Trump campaign. In other words, was this dossier actually used in a FISA court to get a warrant to surveil the Trump campaign or an opposition party? This dossier was not made fully available to the public until BuzzFeed ended up publishing it on January 10th of 2017, well after the election. Well, now we turn our focus, see this? Another one, another troubling scandal, and questions that are raised over a former Democratic IT staffer. Now we begin this time with Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Change of pace, one of Hillary Clinton's top allies in the Democratic Party. Now, she employed an IT staffer named Imran Awan. Now, Awan and several of his relatives, all right, they all worked for congressional Democrats as IT staffers for years, and they reportedly earned between $2 and $4 million, all while having access to House servers. And earlier this year, well, news broke of an investigation into Awan and his family. They were double billing. How did they do that? And stealing House equipment. Democratic lawmakers rightly fired Awan and his relatives, and he was denied access to the House servers. But as Fox News has reported, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she kept him on her payroll. Then in March of this year, Awan's wife and their children flew to Pakistan, where Awan had been sending a lot of money. And finally, Awan was arrested in July at Dulles Airport in Virginia. He was trying to board a flight to Pakistan and was charged with bank fraud, all while some fear that he was responsible for exposing House Democrats' information online. Now, meanwhile, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is defending her decision to keep this guy on the payroll despite the fact that he was under investigation and only fired him after his arrest. And now, in tonight's final, if you will, scandal, we have more shocking evidence when it comes, she's back, to Hillary Clinton as it relates to the fix being in. The Democratic Party is now in disarray following revelations that Hillary Clinton rigged and stole the 2016 primary. Now, this scandal started all the way back in 2015 when Hillary Clinton declared her candidacy for president. Now, at the time, one of Clinton's strongest supporters was none other than Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was serving as the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Hillary Clinton, well, she wanted nothing more to be president. But the socialist senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, he was standing in her way. Poor Bernie, right? The primary fight was close. And in July of 2016, just days before the Democratic National Convention, WikiLeaks releases thousands of emails allegedly hacked from key DNC staff members. Those emails, they exposed how the DNC was working against him. The fix was in for her. Now, in response to the DNC hacking, well, did Wasserman Schultz and the DNC go to the FBI to investigate alleged cyber attacks? No, of course not. Why would they do that? Instead, they hired a law firm. Again, Perkins Coie. Sound familiar? Remember them? That's the same law firm from the discredited Fusion GPS anti-Trump dossier. They're the ones that were connected there. And as you can imagine, people were outraged over what was discovered in the leak, and Wasserman Schultz, she had to step down on the eve of the convention. She was replaced by Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile just wrote a book. In that book, Donna Brazile slammed Wasserman Schultz, as you can see here, and by saying that she let Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn do whatever they wanted. They were running the DNC. She revealed that a secret contract existed between the Clinton campaign, right here, and the DNC. And Brazile exposed how Hillary Clinton and her campaign had total control of the DNC's finances, strategy, personnel decisions, budgeting, data analytics, and mailings. And for all of you who would have voted for this man, Bernie Sanders, you were cheated. The DNC sold you out, and Clinton literally stole the primary election. Look, these are all massive scandals. For years, we have been warning you about the web of corruption committed by the Clinton crime family that they've gotten away with for decades. And now, take a look at this. It shows the entire scale of the Clintons' willingness to do anything and everything to gain power and wealth at all costs. Look at this. Pretty amazing. There's so much to investigate.
But we start off with big news on tax reform and Obamacare in the still developing Senate plan. A repeal of the individual mandate is now back with what appears to be more support from senators. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel joins us live from Capitol Hill with the latest. Good evening, Mike.
Brett, good evening. Senate Republicans intend to take another swing at gutting Obamacare. The Senate Majority Leader says he intends to use money from an Obamacare tax to help the Senate tax reform bill.
Yeah, we're optimistic that inserting the individual mandate repeal would be helpful, and that's obviously the view of the Senate Finance Committee Republicans as well.
House Republican leaders say they intend to pass their tax reform package in the House this Thursday.
Washington has been propping up a tax system riddled with special loopholes for the well-connected. This bill changes this. We are cutting taxes for middle and low-income families.
President Trump plans to rally House Republicans before that pivotal floor vote. On Twitter, the president sung the bill's praises. A great tax bill with the middle class getting big tax cuts. One question for leadership remains the SALT deduction and how many Republicans from states with high property and other taxes like New York, New Jersey, and California would vote yes. New York's Claudia Tenney says she's leaning yes.
Well, if we get the House version with a compromise on SALT, that's something I can support, but the Senate pulled it out, and it's going to be real hard for New York.
New York's Dan Donovan says he's a no.
And because of the elimination of the state and local tax deduction, it's just harmful to New Yorkers.
Democrats suggest when the American people run the numbers, they won't be happy.
When the public understands what's in this bill that harms working families versus who the true beneficiaries of the bulk of the tax cuts are, they're going to be really angry.
The House will be in order.
And while there are signs that Republicans within the House are coming together, so far that isn't the case between the House and Senate.
This thing is going to go into a conference committee where we're going to deal with the kinds of concerns and issues that people want dealt with, and we feel good where we are.
Where the Senate is fine-tuning its tax overhaul in the Finance Committee.
We still don't have the full text of the bill.
Now the Senate Majority Leader says the Senate will include money from scrapping an Obamacare tax in the bill. Tonight, the Rules Committee will prepare the bill in the House for the House floor on Thursday. Sources suggest the House will go forward without including the Obamacare aspect, feeling like they could add it later in a House and Senate conference.